Bonjour, hi. Je m'appelle Derek Heatherington et je suis québécois des cantons de l'Est. Je vous joins aujourd'hui de la région de Chesapeake, une douzaine des communautés vibrantes acadiennes à Nouvelle-Écosse. I was educated at Bishop's University in Lennoxville, Quebec, and at the Université de Sherbrooke in Montreal. And for the last 15 years, I have taught in both the Quebec Cégep system and the university system. One of the issues that is often overlooked in language debates is the economic impact of this sort of legislation. And today I'd like to share with you the analysis that we've conducted for the last 60 years of major research on the impact of linguistic policy on the economy. We'd like to start out with the Language Barrier Index, which uses detailed linguistic data to show that language barriers are significantly negatively correlated with bilateral trade. The Language Barrier Index suggests that the implementation of an increased language barrier between Quebec and Canada could create a proportional decrease in trade flows between this province and the rest of Canada, as well as any other country that uses English as a language of trade. Being able to trade in two languages adds roughly $3.3 billion each year to the economies of New Brunswick and Quebec alone. The cost of a language barrier to trade has been estimated to be the equivalent of a 15 to 22% trade barrier, while sharing a common language can reduce these costs by 75% to 170%. This suggests that any legislation that restrains bilingualism or plurilingualism will have significant impacts on trade and the cost of living. Several European studies confirm that 15 to 20% of companies say that they've lost business due to the inability to communicate in a foreign language. This suggests the implementation of Bill 96 would negatively impact the profitability of companies operating in Quebec, even companies such as Hydro-Quebec that have recently concluded major energy distribution deals with the United States and the state of New York. Consequently, companies with a focus outside the limited Francophone market, which accounts for roughly 3.5% of the world population, will find it increasingly disadvantageous to remain in or start operating in the province of Quebec. There's been a net out-migration of allophones from Quebec to the rest of Canada for each of the census periods since 1966, which has amounted to a net outflow of 120,000 individuals, many of whom were well qualified and had received government language training in the French language. There's also been a net out-migration of Anglophones from Quebec to the rest of Canada for each of the census periods from 1966 to 2016, amounting to a net outflow of 310,000 individuals. A study of out-migration based on the 2011 census showed that Quebec-born Anglophones with a higher university degree, such as a PhD, MA, or MD, were less likely to stay in Quebec than Quebec-born Anglophones with a college or high school diploma, despite being as likely to be bilingual as their peers who remained in Quebec. Given that the Quebec government spends roughly $29,000 per student per year in higher education, any legislation that precipitates further out-migration represents a significant loss of financial capital and will lead to a loss of human capital, cultural diversity, and tax revenue for the province. Bilingual workers in Canada contribute almost $31 billion to Canada's gross national product in the finance, insurance, and real estate industries, and contribute a total of roughly $135 billion to the country's gross domestic product each year. Bilingual employees earn 7 to 21% more than their monolingual counterparts working in Quebec. Bill 96 will discourage bilingualism, which will negatively impact Quebec's GDP. It will also further exacerbate out-migration, as well-skilled bilingual workers will seek employment and be lured by the relative advantage of being bilingual when working outside the province. Bilingual employees in the rest of Canada earn 3.5% to 6.5% more than their monolingual counterparts. Based on the 2016 census data, only 12% of bilingual Canadians fail to complete high school, compared to 17.2% for monolingual Anglophones and 29.7% for monolingual Francophones. Bilingual Canadians are also more likely to hold a university degree, with 20% of bilinguals holding a bachelor's degree compared to 15.8% of monolingual Anglophones and only 6.7% of monolingual Francophones. This suggests that being bilingual contributes to a higher earning potential and reduced reliance on public social programs. The GDP generated by bilinguals outside Quebec is higher than that of monolinguals in every province except for Saskatchewan and Alberta. Even in the United States, the awareness of the limits of monolingualism has affected all fields of academic inquiry. In 2007, the Office of Scientific and Technical Information of the Department of Energy launched an international multilingual platform, worldscience.org, to enable the search in 10 major languages of scientific information from 69 institutions in 66 countries. All of this shows us that the impacts on the economy, on our culture, and the diversity of our populations and our communities will be negative if we continue to implement divisive cultural linguistic policies such as those that are proposed in Bill 96. Thank you.